So here today with a bit more of a general Q&A on the channel. Bit more, essentially a bit of a step back for this stream. First one of the year that we've looked to do one of these. As we mentioned before we finished 2018, we kind of wanted to bring in general Q&As where we could. So this is the opportunity to do so, I think.
It's still January, isn't it?
It is still January, yes. Yeah, it's still January, and we're not even in the last week of January yet. So introducing from left to right, we have Mod Iago, Mod Timbo, Mod Jack, and Mod Iron Man, but in this case, Mod Kelpie. So we're going to kind of kick this off. So first of all, we'll jump into first update, the update that launched for this one this week, i.e. the main update, which was focused on the combat week. An assortment of QOL fixes to the combat system and many different shapes and sizes. But Mod Iago, how was the update? How do we feel it went?
I think it went pretty well. I think people appreciate, obviously, all the combat improvements. A lot of small, just minor fixes, which, yeah, just quality of life fixes, right? And it's nice to see some of the stuff that's come out of it, like the action bar, worn equipment to action bar slot. Yeah.
I think it's really good to see, very important to kind of explain the process where sometimes it's better to have all of this in 1 week, I guess, compared to just individual releases as weeks go on. This is kind of an example of that. We could have just released the worn slot update on its own and it still would have gone well, but if you have all the other stuff with it, it kind of, I guess, consolidates that.
Yeah, it would be nice to see what people think of this, to be honest, because in the past we've obviously just released one fix at a time. Like last month we released like a change to Tsunami that focuses on the NPCs. So yeah, if people appreciate everything, batch updates of combat weeks, then great, we'll do more.
So how do we go from the beginning of that process towards getting another combat week? So let's say, for example, we want to do another combat week. How can players give us the suggestions to try and look to work on and so on and so forth?
I guess similar to recently you put a tweet out, didn't you, about ninja fixes. So I mean, we could do the same thing. Put out a thread and we'll get some responses, compile them, prioritize them, and then we can go from there. Yeah,
I mean, it's safe to say I think it was a really great update. I think kind of shows the impact of like those thematic weeks, I guess is the best way of putting it. We'll kind of come back a little bit on combat, and of course everyone in the Twitch chat by all means ask questions in regards to thematic weeks or so on and so forth. We'll try and pick them up when we can.
I think just a point on that is I think we are also looking at how do we improve the ninja team and so that they are focusing on the big hitters, the top priority sort of things. We've kind of had a few issues where we get lost in our backlogs and stuff, and so we're looking to change it up in the next kind of month or so, and get them working more efficiently on the top suggestions that everyone wants.
I mean, I know you said the next month or so, but I think there's some really quality ninja updates that have already kind of come through already. Like this week we had the Pickaxe on Dominion Tower, which came from Ninja. It was a very good update. Yeah. I know there's other stuff that those guys are looking to get in for next week's update, which I don't know if we'll be able to say them, but I'm hyped for them. Been going on about them all day, but yeah, I think to your point, Kelpie, I think it's very important that it's not just sifting through the backlog; it's more focusing on those updates which are considered impactful. To obviously the people playing the game.
Obviously, some of those changes from this week's combat patches also came from Ninja.
Yes, the one slot one is an example as well. So it's a nice example, kind of bringing it all together. Question in the chat that came up. So why would you delay a potential fix just so it can fit the theme of a particular week?
I mean, it's not.
I guess consideration, right?
It depends on the severity as well.
Yeah.
If it's a major bug, then of course we'll get it fixed as soon as we can. If it's a major a feedback point which is going to have a positive impact, if we can delay it to get it out with a batch of other good updates.
Yeah, it's part of it is communication, and I think if we have more. If we batch up combat fixes, for example, then it is a case that, as you say, you can go out and you say about the combat stuff and you can really talk about that, and then more people become aware of it, read what those combat changes are, and notice them. There's lots of times when you'll see 2 years later someone being like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. It's like Ninja fixed it 2 years ago. Right? I think a lot of our stuff does get lost in patch notes. So part of what I was talking about in terms of improving the Ninja team, part of that is it's not just getting the best fixes in and working on them, but it's also then how we communicate them. And part of that is theming and stuff, and it's making more people aware that, holy shit, we've done all these really great fixes, right? Like
I feel like, yeah, I think there is a...
I love that excitement.
There's never the case where we're just sat on a fix that's been implemented.
I was about to say,
we're
it's
just
not
not releasing
priority as well.
That.
Yeah.
That never happens. It's that, yeah.
We'll prioritize something else over the combat one for the meantime.
I think
then we'll move on to combat.
Yeah, testing time is probably the thing that affects the schedule in that way. So like, if it hasn't been tested yet, it can't be released.
We're not just sat. Yeah, we haven't just fixed something and we'll sit in it for three months.
Yeah, like when it comes to fixes, they go out pretty much as soon as they can. But when it comes to like feedback, then that's maybe a chance to look at it and go, maybe we can do it in one go.
Yeah, but even then we don't do the job and sit on it for ages.
sure.
But scheduling it together helps test it together. So if it's multiple points that all affect the same thing, it's not just theming that makes sense to keep in one update.
Awesome. That was a good little topic to dive into, actually. I thought that was a little insight into it. Okay, let's go into, obviously, Mine and Smithing, of course, released first update of 2019. We're now 2-3 weeks into the update itself. You guys are still plugging away post-release fixes.
Still doing post-release fixes.
How's it all going?
I've been making a list of stuff that's still to work on. I think the highest priority issue for me is trim masterwork degradation and augmentation. Still not quite working.
So presumably when you're on a task and other things
it still degrades, yeah. I'm not sure we're going to be able to get it to absolute 100% never degrades. I've seen some people reporting it as when you're on a Slayer task it doesn't degrade, and it was never supposed to be that anyway. It's not when you're on Slayer it doesn't degrade, it's when you're hit by your Slayer target it doesn't degrade. And and when you're hit by your Reaper target it doesn't degrade. And so there are fixes that we need to put in for that. But if you think that you slap it on, do Slayer, and never take any degradation, that was never how it was intended to work in the first place. But we do need to look at fixing that. My concern is it's a very complicated and expensive fix to get it working entirely as intended. So I don't know what...
Are you able to kind of give an insight into that, just so... Because we can easily say it, but I think it's useful to kind of provide
It's not set up to work that way. Slack is not set up to work that way. Some people are saying, well, how did it go live? And the answer is because we wanted to add an extra bonus to Trim Masterwork at the last minute. It really was like a week before launch. And we said, honestly, Trim Masterwork isn't good enough. It needs to be better. So we pitched this benefit, we talked it through. We didn't poll it, but we had a discussion. There was a Reddit thread about it, and then I made 2 Reddit threads about it, because there was one, and then it got feedback, and then it got redesigned. Then it got implemented, and it turned out that that's not exactly how Slayer works. So, for example, without going back and re-engineering how the fights work, the game doesn't know that the minions of a boss are a part of that boss fight.
Yeah.
It doesn't know that. We don't need technical solutions for this. There are several ways we could fix it. Some people have suggested, well, maybe you could just check if you're in the correct area, or maybe we could just flag all the minions as being part of that boss fight. But that's actually, at that point, we're actually changing the boss fight. So it sounds like a small change, but it's actually potentially dangerous. Editing minions changes the boss fight, even if we don't think we've made anything different. Yeah. So that means the boss fight needs retesting, so it's actually a much more complex fix than it sounds.
Cool. What else are you guys working on?
Stone Spirits. I was talking to the guys today. They're going through and looking at the most affected bosses. So obviously with the Stone Spirit drops, we're getting a lot of complaints. So their hit list at the moment is QBD, all the God Wars 2 bosses, because they share the same common drop table, Solak and Nex, but not AOD.
To preface this, when you say all of God Wars Dungeon 2, you don't mean Solak. Sorry, Talos, is that correct?
Don't mean Talos.
Yeah, because I tried to reiterate. Yep, cool.
Regular lieutenants.
So these are the ones who we think have been hit most. And so they are looking at replacing some of the Stone Spirits with more valuable Stone Spirits. Hopefully that'll be in for next Monday. I don't have a definite timescale for that, but that's where they're aiming for. That isn't the end of it. As I said in the last Q&A, we need to keep an eye on the economy. It may be that we put higher level Stone Spirits on and they end up fantastically valuable or completely worthless. So we do need to still keep an eye on what happens with the drop.
So can I ask, so instead of so obviously changed out Stone Spirits for higher Stone Spirits, was there consideration for salvage at all?
The problem with chat salvage is that it changes an economy skilling drop into just raw gold. Especially with the new Spring Cleaner, makes those raw gold salvage drops really good because they're so convenient. You can just generate. You don't even have to put them in your alchemy machine. You just get the gold straight away. So if we go in and we say, oh, this drop used to be worth 50k, let's just put 50k worth of salvage on it. That drop is a lot better than it used to be. So that's a buff. And our object here is to not nerf PVM, not to buff PVM. So it would have to be a lot less raw gold. And then a lot of people would say, oh, well, that's a nerf because I could have got 50k and now I'm only getting 20k without necessarily appreciating the work they would have had to get the actual value of the drop. So that's why I say it's an ongoing process. We need to experiment and see what works.
Cool. What else are you guys on?
It's currently still impossible to get the spiky appearance for the trim masterwork armor. We're still intending to do that. It's not. We don't intend for there to be a cost. That'll just be an option that you can make your gold-plated trim masterwork armor look spiky instead.
Awesome.
We're aware that there's an issue with availability of components, particularly for Iron Man. The shop prices are extremely high, which means you can't just go buy components. We can probably, now that we've had a chance to see where the economy settled down, we can probably just nerf those shop prices. I haven't looked into the numbers of it yet. But also in general, we're aware that smithing is not a very good source of components anymore. So we're going to look at one thing that's been suggested is the option to smith salvage, for example, which would allow you to cost-effectively generate components. That's not a promise, but that's one thing that we'd look into. I think crablets are still a bit broken. I think crablets still take too long to clear the island. So we need to look at that. And gem rocks, particularly the Priff ones, but all gem rocks have the same problem. Their hit points are still way too high. I don't think that's been fixed yet.
Okay.
I don't think a fix is in to go live yet.
Okay. And just from a looking out perspective for updates, are you guys doing another set of updates next week as well, or is it? Like,
there's more fixes coming next Monday, yeah.
And then the week after that, or is this?
I'm not sure when we're officially on to Comp Cape. Is there another week, or is that we on? I'm not sure.
I
think we'll keep trailing fixes.
I scheduled like 4 weeks beyond release.
So I think we've got another week.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But we should talk about how much stuff is doing.
Absolutely,
yeah.
But it's likely that some devs will move on to comp and some devs will keep doing fixes. And we'll see how we can do it efficiently.
Alrighty, Comp Cape.
I think it's also, sorry. Before we go, I think it's also kind of like, is there still some bigger stuff we still want to do with mining and smithing that we could do? I mean, it's like, but if we do that stuff, is it going to have like an impact? Like everyone's doing mining and smithing now. If 5 months down the time we schedule in another like mining and smithing update, is that actually going to have any kind of impact? You might feel like it's a bit kind of late then. It's not necessarily, we can still add it in at a later time sort of thing, but at that point it's probably people are a bit maybe sick of mining and smithing at that point. They've kind of done it all. They've got their top armor and stuff like that.
If we're going to fix
that stuff,
fix them now.
Yeah.
But then, that's the comparison with comp is exactly the decision we always have to make. That there are still things that we could change about mining and smithing, and the question is, would that be more or less valuable than fixing the comp cape?
Yeah.
And I think so it's not that we don't want to. I don't want to say fix, because things that are actually broken we do need to fix.
Yeah.
But in the case of things where, like say, Blast Furnace, I would like to go back and have another look at Blast Furnace. But is that actually good use of time compared to fixing comp cape?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Actually, before we jump into Comp Cape Rework Help, I've got a question to ask you. So, based on what we've seen from mining and smithing in regards to the rework, do you ever see that coming across in other skills, I guess?
Hate you. I mean, potentially. I would like to say yes, in the sense that it has proven like the method works, the mechanics there work, sort of thing. And yes, if we were to look at woodcutting, then we would do some of those things. I think it is too early yet to kind of really say if the huge amount of work that we went into mining smithing is a kind of, it is a success, because it has been a success, but is it enough of a success, like longer term and stuff, that we would then dedicate those same resources onto doing similar things for skills? Because we're talking about taking up a team, at least a year's worth of time for a team sort of thing, and there's everything else we could also do, right? So it's always about kind of like prioritization. Is like there's a huge amount of things we could do. Lots of people want different things. Some people want lots of quests, some people want lots of bosses. And we have to prioritize stuff, and we have to try and make sure we're giving a bit of something for everyone throughout like the year, basically. So
I feel like we've got 2018 gave us some insight into what that looks like.
Yeah.
But I think it is clear that the release schedule suffered for the fact that one team was completely absent for an entire year. And if we were to do another rework, it would be the same situation again.
Yeah.
And that's why we did that poll of essentially, what we were essentially asking in retrospect was, do you want the release schedule of 2018 to suffer in exchange for this rework? And the answer came back yes. And I don't know whether it would come back yes next time.
It's also the fact that I think it's okay for one team to be out for a long time, but like you can't have multiple teams as well, and sometimes we've had other large projects as well that's taken teams out for a long period of time. So it's getting that right mix and that right prioritization. So I think if it was really easy to just do what the guys have just done for mining and smithing, then
absolutely,
getting them all out. But it's not. So
what else could we do with 18
have to balance
months,
it? Yeah.
18 months would be what, like 3 enormous quests?
Yeah.
Or 3 enormous dungeons.
Alrighty, Cape Rework. So we obviously were on stream last week. We kind of had a little bit of initial discussion on it, but progress-wise, we hadn't had much to show or talk about. So where are we at now?
There's a poll that should be out tomorrow. It's currently being translated. There's a poll and a dev blog that goes with it that explains some of where we are. That should be out tomorrow.
Nice.
So go vote on it. That's not a guaranteed content poll. It's not, here's the comp rework, yes, no. It's some questions about how you feel about comp and how it should be. There are going to be 2 versions of that poll, although they have identical questions. There's one version that only people who currently have or have previously had comp can fill in, and one version that only people who have never had comp can fill in. And the questions are the same in both cases, but that allows us to easily...
So you can see if there's a clear deviation where comp won something versus non-comp not one, and then you can tell, okay.
We're not distinguishing between people who do have comp and people who have previously had comp, because we don't think that distinction is fair, because if you just currently haven't got around to regaining your comp cape, but you're almost done, like we can't easily see that in the data, so like we don't think that's an important distinction. But comp versus non-comp is a big deal.
So how long do you think? Also, how long will the poll run? I guess the question.
I think it's a week.
A week.
Yeah. Also, the results are hidden because we don't want to bias people answering, because we often find that tends to happen.
Yep.
That when like usually within the first day we know how the poll's going to turn out. And there seems to be an element of bias of people voting for the winner. That may not be true, and this will be an opportunity to see that. But in a sense, because it's not a guaranteed content poll, and because we anticipate a controversial result, like one of the questions asks, would you be happy for requirements to be removed from comp if the definition of what comp is changes? And a reasonable expectation for that would be that compers say no, don't remove any requirements, and non-compers say yes, do remove some requirements. And if you can just, this sounds really surreptitious, but that's not how I mean it. If you can just see that result in game, then we immediately get thousands of Reddit threads saying 51% of players said it should be removed. Go Jagex, we said. And we need to look at those results. We need to understand what they mean. We need to look at the relative number of people. We need to see whether it's representative. And then we need to sort of present that information clearly and explain what our takeaway is from it.
So if we come to a stream not next week, 'cause obviously the polls will be ongoing. If we come to a stream in 2 weeks, for example, do we see ourselves discussing the in-depth of that poll at all?
Yeah, I would expect so.
Awesome. Okay, then let us make sure we do that. I think that'd be awesome.
Hopefully get Stu on for that as well, because he should be much more involved.
Okay, so I guess when it comes down to it, time frame wise, like what are we aiming for to try and go from a poll into implementation and then into release? I guess.
I may be being overly optimistic, but I think we do need to get on with it. I would expect that we have a preliminary high-level design in a couple of weeks' time.
Right.
As in, here's our based on the poll result, here is our proposal for how we will rework comp. Not here's exactly what comp is. So it probably still wouldn't say Castle Wars is definitely on it, or Castle Wars is definitely not on it, or anything like that. I don't think it would be that specific, but it would say something like, here's a hard PVM cape, or something like that, because there is or isn't support for that.
So I think just to reiterate, in case some people have not really heard of the intentions for the Cape Rework, why now are we deciding to do this?
I mean, so there's a lot more detail in the dev blog out
there. Oh yeah, for sure.
But the rough high-level version of it is that the comp cape is supposed to be for completionists, but actually it's best in slot for PVM. That means we have a lot of people who think, rightfully or wrongfully, that they need the best in slot PVM cape, which means they have to be completionist, but they don't actually want to be completionist because they'd rather just be doing PVM. So they end up at Livid Farm in Manifest, doing Player and Farm, whatever. Did Player and Farm actually have a comp?
Music track camp, yeah. So yeah, I get the seasonalizer.
So Player and Farm doesn't, and that's the other example. So we then avoid putting comp requirements on things because we know how much compers hate it, because compers, we don't know what the proportion is, but something like 50% of compers don't actually want to be completionists at all. They just want the PVM stats. They end up doing a whole lot of content, maybe they would have tried the content out, but they certainly don't want to have to rush to get the comp requirements done within 2 days.
The fact they feel forced in order to do the content.
And they're not allowed to go back and do more bossing until after they finish grinding out whatever reputation system or something that they don't.
Whereas on the inverse, if you're not a PVMer and you want to get comp, then you're locked to get Reaper, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So and the people who actually are completionists, so we didn't put a POF rec on comp, I think, or only a minor one. So the people who actually are completionists, who've been completionists about the farm, that doesn't get recognised in completionism, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, there's no completing the breeding log as a
comp rec,
and stuff like that.
And so comp has become a sort of incredibly elaborate way of getting a good PVM cape, and that's sort of broken what comp is. So we want to try and fix that, and there's a variety of different ways we could do that, and that's kind of what the poll is surveying.
Do we know what time we're looking to launch tomorrow? Just so players have an idea what to look at.
I don't know, I'm afraid. No. It's being translated at the moment.
Between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Probably, yeah.
Sounds like
during work hours.
Trust me, like
when it's ready, as soon as it's ready.
Yeah, well, it'll be shouted about. I think that's safe to say. So it's obviously going to be a pretty important poll. Kind of give us an idea of.
And this isn't the last. So should mention the Discord channel. So there's a the official RuneScape Discord channel has, I think, now 10 comp channels where you can go talk about the comp Cape Rework.
So many channels.
Yeah, I keep adding new ones whenever everyone gets arguing all that.
That's what happens when you give Jack the Discord power.
Yeah, and I just add more channels. So they've seen the poll text. It's not secret. So if you want to go and look, feel free.
I kind of wish we had it honest now.
The big bits of feedback we got was sorry.
I kind of wish we had it honest now, just so we can kind of discuss them. I guess.
Oh, I've got
the poll text.
My phone is on airplane mode. It'll take quite a while to go through, I think.
Yeah, well, I think okay, we'll see anyway. But
if there's time at the end of the Q&A, I'm happy to go through more of it.
Okay, that's fine.
But by all means, go on Discord and have a look at it. The big bit of feedback we got was essentially that players felt like they weren't given enough information to decide on the answer to the question, and like, how am I supposed to? Like the question I talked about earlier about should requirements be removed if they don't fit the definition of comp cape, and they say, well, I don't know what the definition of comp cape is, and I don't know which requirements you're proposing to remove, so how can I answer that question? But it's not a specific question. It's not asking, should Castle Wars be removed? Instead, it's more asking how you think of comp cape. Do you think the comp cape's definition is more important, or do you think protecting existing requirements is more important? And I'd much rather people honestly answer that question with their opinion than try to game it in order to get a certain requirement on or off comp, if that makes sense. But this isn't the last opportunity to give opinion. We're not going to do this poll and then just ship something and. Yeah,
I was going to say. So presumably no, as we call them, amnesty, as it were. So like nothing like that as well when it launches. It'll just be.
Well, there's a question about that as well.
Oh, okay,
there's a question about grace periods and whether grace periods are the right thing to do.
Okay. So there's obviously a lot to consider, but again, I think a really good example, like coming into the new year, is just stuff we haven't done for a while. We're starting to do again. Polls is obviously one of them for sure. We've. Towards the end of the year, did the DK Pets poll as a kind of a trial to kind of get the polling going again. Now we're doing stuff like this, which is kind of important to have your say on. So yeah, I think it's awesome. We're getting back into the groove of polls for sure. So really good chance for you guys to give your input on something quite significant. So as a note, actually, before we jump into some bit more generalized questions, then we'll go into Ninja. For players in Australia, I don't know why I dragged that out, but in Australia, we're doing maintenance on Australian Worlds tomorrow from 10 a.m. game time. That will last, I believe, for 8 hours, if I remember correctly. So be aware of that, not to interrupt your gaming sessions there on those servers. So definitely keep an eye out for that one. And of course, as already mentioned, keep an eye out for the Comp Rework poll and news posts, which go live tomorrow. Early morning or later afternoon, but we'll definitely shout about it when the time comes. So let's jump into some more questions, kind of cover a general topic on RuneScape, so anyone feel free to chime in here. When can we expect to see the Woodcoin and Hunter gear fragments come into game? So the elite outfits, I guess, in a sense, the elite fragments. Is there a plan laid out for them?
For
Hunter, yes.
Okay, awesome. So we're looking.
Not saying anything more than
that's fair.
For woodcutting, I don't think there is any plan right now.
Yeah, not right now.
But if there's a Hunter plan, then that means that we can look forward to that in the future. That's awesome. Is there any news on the Imagiro aura?
What specifically about it?
Well, I mean,
just
yeah,
obtaining it.
On holidays, doing fine.
Yeah.
I suppose the question is,
Parents
like, is it just gone and like we're not bringing it back whatsoever, or? I mean,
Honestly, the
Can't
best I
remember
can give
was
is...
it a Premier Club one?
Yes, Premier Club
Then-
2015, I want
Then
to say.
it's gone because we've replaced it, right?
We have brought it up in discussion amongst different councils and teams, but that's about as far as it's at the moment.
Yeah,
So we can't actually give
there's no
anything
concrete
solid.
plans to bring it back.
Cool. When will the recently polled Dagenafkin graphical update be released? I'm not sure on this one. Obviously, the poll had passed, I guess. I have to double check with.
I don't actually know.
Yeah, I can't remember his mod name. Double check with the R team basically on that one. Do you have any plans to release another album dedicated to the Dungeoneering soundtrack? That'd be awesome. I think that'd be lovely to do.
There's no plans.
Yeah.
As of now, but like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those guys.
that's a question for our audio team, really.
Yeah, they would love to do more, but who knows?
This is great. Rattling these off with these questions.
I don't know.
No, not with just,
I don't know.
I'm not
Maybe.
saying it's great that we're saying I don't know, maybe.
We've had a
but
chat about it.
At least we're able to actually answer these, so just rattle them off. Will the rare item token still be refreshed at some point in the near future?
No.
Okay.
I think we will, but not in the near future, no.
Okay, two-part question here. I think we might be able to give an answer on this one. We'll see. Are there any plans for a kill count high score in the future?
It's something that's been raised as something we would obviously like, but as of this time, nothing's planned, as in like scheduled to.
But obviously the discussions have obviously been said, and there is interest for it for sure.
Yeah, we know there's interest for it.
Yeah. Will some of the minigames get an update such as removing quests to access, i.e. trouble brewing, or further reducing the number of players required to start, i.e. pest control?
I mean, there's no plans at the moment.
No immediate plans.
We could forward it to the ninja teams
could,
perhaps if it's high demand, and yeah.
Is there any news on TAP projects making a return?
TAP is a company thing. It's not a.
It's not dedicated to
RuneScape thing. It's
okay.
It's if it happens, it happens. It's not. Yeah.
Last year, new augmentable invention tools were polled and didn't do too badly, but they haven't yet been worked on. Is there an ETA for when we could see any new augmentable invention tools?
No, there's not. There's a lot of like, a lot of these things are kind of like, smaller bits and pieces that we've kind of discussed in the past as possible things we do, but none of these kind of things are being prioritized at this time. It's kind of what I was saying earlier on. Like there's a lot of things, that we can do, lots of things that people want us to do, a whole range of things, and it's about prioritizing them and getting around to them, sort of thing. And there's bits like that, and people want fresh, brand new stuff as well and stuff. So can't do everything, unfortunately, at once.
That's fair enough. A question about mine and Smith, and probably for you here, Jack. Can Spirit Gems be re-added to the Can Spirit Gems be re-added to the Prif Gem Rocks?
Yeah, I've been wondering about that. I've seen some divided opinion on them. Some people seem glad to have them gone, and some people would rather have them back.
It's quite divided.
It's not immediately obvious what to do about that. We could try to make it optional. I feel like the demand is more we want a way to get Spirit Gems than we specifically want the Spirit Gems on the Prif Rocks. So it might be that it's a perk or something.
Potentially.
But
on the other hand, we have seemingly every PVM in the world telling us to remove them from drop tables. So
yeah, so it's.
Can the open all action on geodes be sped up slightly?
What, sorry?
So on geodes for Mine and Smith, there's an
open
open all.
Giro. I was like, what?
I don't see a massive reason to do that.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, you can put them on your action bar and hold the keybind, and that opens it up pretty quickly as a way if you want to get around it. Anyway, it's what
we have a list of sort of. It's an awkward place of like. I think we often accidentally use up reward spaces by making them QOL fixes.
Okay.
So like. Players want to be able to do a thing more conveniently. That makes perfect sense. And then we're just like, yeah, okay, there you go. Now you can do this thing more conveniently. And then we go, why do quests all have terrible rewards? Because we gave away all the rewards as free QOL fixes, if you see what I mean. So I'm a little. I think sometimes, take for example, like the auto alchemy machine, right? Like you could have implemented that as a QOL fix, and I don't think that would have made the game better.
Okay. Can you please add a quick add option to the right-click menu for porters? So I presume on a
question for Timbo, I think.
On what?
on the porters menu, it just says, can you please add a quick add option to right-click menu for porters? I presume as a category for stuff. I don't know. Presumably, get the person to elaborate on that one.
Yeah, I don't really know what they're asking for.
Are you
Okay.
watching? Can you elaborate on your
Yeah, presumably, yeah, because well, I
Does it
just
mean
had
on
that
Grace of
added.
the Elves?
Presumably, yeah, I'm going to say Grace of the Elves, which
Yeah, some people are saying it on Grace of the Elves.
Maybe. It's pretty quick already.
as in, okay, let me take a step back. I think what they've been trying to say is, can you add a right-click option to stop the porter functionality on the Grace of the Elves?
Oh, that's already
Right.
in. We're already,
Yes.
It's already thing.
Yeah, just to reiterate that.
Yeah.
That.
That's something that's, we already know about that.
Mm-hmm.
And adding porters to the Grace of the Elves is like, no, that's fine the way it is.
Yeah, it's quite fast anyway, for what it's worth. Yeah. Just use it and then go from there. Okay, Ninja, let's jump into what Ninja have coming up. As mentioned in the video, we talked about player on farmhands. So how are we looking on the farmhands update as it was?
Pretty good.
Well, yeah, it's good. Unfortunately, though, like we're moving it back a week.
Okay.
So the release week for farmhands. So we have a process. You complete a project. It goes into our release candidate where all the updates get merged into one build, and then that build goes live. Fortunately, it was just a little late to that.
Yep.
And so we've moved it back a week. So it will now be the first update of February.
Okay, and presumably the reason obviously we want to make sure they go in at the start is because if they come in later, there's a chance that stuff can get missed.
Yeah, they need to go in. It's about people's time. They need to go through it. It's a process that we go through. They need to go in, get tested alongside all the other updates that go in, and get released. Unfortunately, it was just a little bit late. It's essentially done, but just a bit late, so it hasn't gone in. So we need to put it back.
Cool.
And
No, I mean,
and we do that process to try to ensure we catch as much bugs as possible.
what makes it fun when stuff like this happens, and even though it is a week, is that obviously we kind of want to see what can we do to kind of fill the gap. And so when it comes to this, like this is where Ninja have such an important role, because we have these Ninja fixes which have been done as the time have gone on, and we really haven't had the space to put them in. But now, from obviously communicating with Ninja and stuff like that, you can kind of get an idea of what to put in. And obviously some of the updates already for next Monday, we're only on Tuesday, but some of the updates they want to bring in for next Monday are amazing. Can we talk about two of them if possible?
Yes.
If you want.
Yes. Okay. So the
Ones you had in mind.
can we talk about loot share?
Sure.
So an update I think is invaluable to clans, PVM people, PVM FCs and so on. So basically the ability to loot share in someone's FC without having to have them added on your friends list as the FC owner, which I cannot stress is so good for JMod masses as an example, and significant enough that the FC owner no longer has to make space on his friends list to add someone who's just joined to then have them be into loot share and stuff like that. And this is something that Ninja have done, tying in with Kelpie's point about impactful fixes. That's such a really good update to have. So yeah, it's going to be awesome to have that. And I guess the other one kind of ties in what we just talked about, which is Grace of the Elves. That's looking like it's going to go in for Monday. So the ability to obviously stop that kind of happening again. Oh, sorry, stop porters being used if you do that toggle.
Toggle the functionality of porters.
So I kind of want to talk to you about GameJam if we can, Timbo. We obviously talked about, we've gone back and forth about projects coming on from here and so on and so forth. We've gone over this and this again. But when we look at GameJam as an overview, do we see any GameJams happening anytime soon in the early part of 2019? We had one in April 2018.
So yeah, I want to do another GameJam in April.
Okay.
I think it seems like we're doing fine for another GameJam in April. And I think the second GameJam last year was really good. Again, we're getting like fixes out of it. We're getting farmhands, instance burners, fire making updates to Spirit firelights and stuff. Again, so yeah, I want to do another 2 GameJams this year.
Nice.
So one in April and then one after RuneFest. So we come back. We're enthused from RuneFest. We've got all our ideas from players and stuff, and we have more GameJam stuff.
Do you see them being thematic, similar to what we did in November? Because in November we kind of adhered to certain, obviously, points that we laid out. Do we see them kind of being like that again?
I think maybe they'll continue to be as focused as that.
Okay.
So like there were 5 things that we wanted suggestions for. So it was like small quests, quality fixes. I can't remember what they were now. Yeah, they were like focused around like a certain number of things, and we'll probably do the same thing. We won't do the traditional game jam thing of like, this is the game jam of Imagine, and it's like that's not a thing. There will be focused RuneScape specific things. So maybe we'll be like, what mini games should we change, or what mini games should we remove, or which bit of this update do you think we should change? Maybe it's a mindsmithing thing, and it's like, what new mindsmithing thing would you like to see come? Would you like to see a masterwork weapon or something along those lines? So yeah, that will be the game jam focus.
So I guess when it comes,
Answer a question
yeah,
in the
but
chat.
like, if you guys see anything, by the way,
Why
just
do
jump in.
why do we all look so pissed off?
Do we
There's
look
been a discussion going on.
do we look
It's
pissed
because
off?
everyone on this couch except Shawnee has resting bitch face. That's why. If we're sort of happy and content,
I spent
this is
all
my happy content face.
Okay, let's
I
talk
spent
about
all
our
morning.
days.
Spent all morning cleaning my house.
Yeah, I was going to say,
So I am absolutely effing knackered.
let's talk about our days. What about you? You've probably been in meetings all day, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
the most
Okay.
part.
What about you,
Yeah.
Kelpie?
Yeah.
I got a meeting scheduled over my lunch break at the last minute.
Oh, right. Yeah, there we
Just
go.
concentrating on the chat too, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah. See, this is the thing
Yeah.
because we look
reading
at the
quick-
chat,
reading quick-
our
quick.
faces just go static. I guess it looks like we're just like.
Except
this.
when someone says, "Why do you look so pissed off?" which makes me laugh.
Are we going to break a record for just swearing on a stream? Is this? Is this what we're
I
doing?
stopped myself.
Yeah, you did well. You
bad.
stopped it. I
I'm
mean,
just quoting a player. That's all.
oh, I see. So that's justification.
They
for
pay,
it.
they say.
Obviously, when it comes to, actually, I've got some more general questions while we're here. Can we talk about an option to hide other players' pets/followers? So I guess let's get into it. Like, why is the option never been done? I guess is there more of a
I mean, generally, pets is a thing that you kind of get to kind of show off. So if you can't show it off to other people, then it kind of devalues it as a kind of reward, something to go for.
It's analogous to like, I'm an Iron Man, so I can't interact with other players. Can I just have my own server by myself?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see other players; they're annoying. You know, like it sort of doesn't make any sense as a question. We did disable them in Artisan's Workshop, though, I think.
Yeah.
we
go
hit
there.
that.
Go there,
Oh,
go there,
nice.
do smithing.
Touche. Can we? Oh, here we go. Can we make all quests replayable so I can help noobs quests? I mean, it's
No,
nice. It's
TLDR,
nice.
no.
So
Even making new quests replayable is a lot of work. Going back and making old quests replayable essentially requires the quest to be completely rebuilt.
I mean, if we look at the work that Raven had to do for endgames replayability, I mean, that's an example of it right there. Like that was.
I mean, I don't think the work wasn't enormous, but it's because it needed so much testing.
It's not enough for the numbers of people who want to replay
And then
it.
it was like
Yeah, basically no
sub
replays
500
quests,
people
yeah.
replayed it or something like that ever.
Yeah.
So I think Raven spent longer implementing it than the total amount of player time that was spent replaying it.
Yeah.
Which is the appalling dev time deal.
Yeah.
Like we want to spend less time making.
I remember the time when
But
we
he
were
spent
using
playing,
beta worlds a lot, and I made the beta world available. It was when we're about to release not the last quest in the Vampire series, but the one before that. I can't remember the names of them now. But we put up, we had the beta worlds up for other reasons, and it was like, oh, how about we make them like, we can easily make it replayable on the beta worlds or something like that. So let's do that. And a whole 8 people played.
Wow.
Yeah, and and we did shout out about it a bit, sort of thing. So
We experimented a little bit. I mean, maybe it's a bad example, but so there are other MMOs in which the quest content is repeatable, and that forms like content of the game. The expectation that you do the quests over and over again. And I don't think RuneScape is really set up to do that.
No.
Most MMOs are quite combat heavy, so replaying a quest is more like replaying an elite dungeon in RuneScape. And so obviously the elite dungeons are replayable, but our quests being replayable, sort of, you'd just be clicking through the dialogue options as efficiently as possible to get the XP. It'd be a really weird experience.
Yeah.
Speaking of beta worlds, obviously we had, I think it's safe to say, mine and Smith in with the 2 betas, betas, can't decide which one I want to say, when we ran them in February and August, I want to say, is that correct? If my memory serves me correctly,
Something
in
like
2018. I think it definitely helped us,
Yeah,
but I
it's
mean,
really helpful.
Kelpie, I guess a question for you, what do we consider as an approach for beta worlds in the future? Like what's big enough to be considered for that?
yeah, typically it's for large updates and dangerous updates. So a dangerous update would be something where you're going to affect the bank system, or you're going to affect the death system. So we've done if there's a danger that is going to result in like a bug would result in like everyone losing all their stuff, or everyone dying all over the place and all that sort of stuff, like that's when we do kind of things for those. And then otherwise it's kind of like for the big updates, and obviously mining and smithing was something that the guys worked on for like 18 months or whatever, so it's kind of like you've got a whole lot of stuff there and you can test it. And also the mining smithing, thematically, like it's not there is new elements to it, but it's not secret. Yeah. So that's kind of good. Like if you're doing a big update that you want to keep quiet, like it's meant to be a nice big surprise, then you don't do a beta where you kind of give away all the spoilers basically beforehand,
Mining smithing also had that nice thing where there were things that we could test, but still a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So it made, whereas a lot of times we would do a beta, it would basically have, the project would have to be finished. So with the question earlier about delaying updates.
Yeah.
If we were to beta it, would be we were to finish the update, and then rather than launching it, we launch a beta and then wait for 2 months and then launch it. So just get the update. It would be a little bit more polished, but it would also just be 2 months later.
So yeah, we don't really, for stuff that's kind of like future updates that we don't want to like spoil beforehand and stuff. We do have kind of like behind closed door playtest sort of thing in terms of like we bring some people in, we NDA them, and they playtest, give their thoughts and give us feedback sort of thing, and we do some validation stuff around that. However, betas are, the mining smithing shows betas are successful. So if we can do a bit more, that'd be great, and we should definitely consider it. But when a project is like 12 weeks long, like doing the project and fitting a beta in and getting the feedback, there's not really enough time for that.
I would say the mining smithing beta cost us about a month of development time overall. I mean,
Is
got
that
a lot of fixes.
what, for both or
for just the second one?
Just the second one.
A month of development time, I would estimate it at. And yeah, as you say, when the project's only 3 months long in the first place, that's a third of the development time being used by beta.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's talk. We got
a few questions from the chat.
Like by all means.
Spellbook swap changes. They're still waiting on art for the icons. I can chase that up, but we don't have any date for that. Somebody asked about left-click options for Excalibur healing. We did do that probably like 2 years ago, and then there was a bit of a fuss kicked up about that, so we had to change it back. So that won't happen, but as you've seen, Mod Sova's right-click,
action bar
the customizing keybinds, that will fix any sort of changes people want like that, right?
That needs some further work. That's not like
that's a long way off.
There's issues with that in terms of like making it work and actually.
Well, I mean,
being okay.
The perfect example was obviously when it came to GameJam when we were showing it. Yeah, we showed a prototype functioning version, but it was clearly not ready as well. So I mean, that was like a perfect example of that kind of status, I guess. So just to reiterate that, there was. Oh, we've got more.
Yeah, some people are asking about ability queuing issues. There is 2 which are will be fixed next week, but I'm not entirely sure what the issue is you have. So if you tweet me, Mod Yago, I can have a look and make sure we've got them. And the last one, the whole chat has been asking about a aquarium bug. Please submit a bug report because I have no idea what that is.
Timber, go on.
Someone just there asked, what happened to weapon diversification that was proposed with mining and smithing?
Oh.
There was never a weapon diversification as part of mining and smithing. I kept saying over and over, this is not a combat rework.
We did weapon diversity during the game jam, but that is still on, still design stages basically.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit on me as well to find a suitable slot for that. I know people want it, and the Combat Council have made it clear to me that it cannot be staggered. It should all really go out into like one release or very close releases. So one release would be best to make sure we just get it all done. And I maybe have a suitable slot for it, but we need to discuss it further and make sure it is actually suitable. And we'll need to make sure that we can actually do further design work on it, so that when it comes to the team, it's about implementation and not trying to design it during the same time.
I can't wait to hear your answer on this one, Timbo. When the Mining Smith update came out, there was the ability to make X 60 on fletching, which was then reverted in the week of the update. Why are we not allowed to keep Pickaxe fletching to 60?
Because we don't want to make it 60 is basically the answer. We don't want it to make it any more AFK than it already is.
The XP per hour is just so crazy high with arrow, broad arrows.
Yeah, it's like we might look to make it a reward from something in future to upping it, but like we're not. It was a bug with mine smithing, and we reverted it because.
Yeah, and obviously you all saw Make X60 and you're like, oh my god, this thing's amazing, and of course you're going to complain when it goes away, but...
Of course everyone wants to make things more easier or more faster or more XP.
It would be a tricky fix, but we could make it 1 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then you would never have to click it. Well, you'd get the 5-minute timer before
Get locked out, yeah.
But yeah, it's just to reiterate, to those saying we nerfed it, we technically didn't. We bug fixed it because it was never meant to be that way in the first place. So, yeah, there was no intentions to ever go to make X60, but I thought it would be nice to just address that out of the way, just so we can go from there.
I've got a few more from the chat.
Yeah, crack on.
Someone quite early on asked, why do we have to report bugs multiple times before they get fixed, which I thought was an interesting comment. So our QA team, they were telling me this recently, they spend an hour a day going through bug queues?
I mean,
it's a lot more than that, to be honest.
And a whole day a week, I think. Right?
Yeah, sort of Mondays on update days, everyone's on them. And then
bug queues is the system that player bug reports get turned into little reports, which our QA team then go through and filter.
Yeah, we are not getting Windows sounds again. Are you serious?
Oh.
Please tell me we're not getting Windows sounds again.
I can't hear them, they must not exist.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, Yago, go ahead.
So the story was, Montrogan was doing this, I think, yesterday, the day before, and he said, I've been on bug queues all day. At 5 o'clock, he said, I've been on bug queues all day. I finally found an actual bug.
Yeah.
It was something that he could repeat, that a player had reported that was an actual bug, and it was really minor, but it was a genuinely repeatable bug.
Yeah, I mean, reproduction steps.
Love it.
Reproduction steps are probably the most important thing when you do submit a big report.
And also just not reporting
if someone,
bugs.
Yeah, but if someone who is reading it can't reproduce what your bug is, then it's not a bug.
Yeah,
there's Axor and it's broken.
There's so much which take up our time as well. When somebody reports a bug the next day, it's like it might have been fixed by then, so we won't be able to reproduce it, and we'll be spending the time looking into something that's not a bug, because they weren't clear with their summary or lack of reproduction steps. And like when you submit a bug report, it sends us a copy of your game at that point, the location you were standing in. So if somebody said, I'm stuck in a rock, and they teleport away, we're never going to find that rock. So yeah, reproduction steps though is probably the biggest thing. Spend time giving us exact how you got into that position.
Mod Chaos on Twitter tweets out the most.
Well, some people do that just because, which is fine. Minus Smithing, will rock opportunities be made more visible?
Yes, that's bugged.
Awesome.
It's a tricky thing to fix because in some cases it depends on the specific rock.
Yeah.
So we can't just if we made a general, we could just double the size of the thing, right? And then it would be enormous and annoying. So we can't.
Because some places it's really obvious, but I think it's like Baneite.
Baneite Relica, there's a rock that's halfway in,
exactly.
which is a pain, obviously, to see. So
it's not a trivial thing to fix.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Do we see, I don't know if we can answer this, but for Release Dungeon 3, is the release planned before or after Double XP?
I don't actually know.
I do. I don't know if I want to.
Your call.
The problem is that if you give a specific release date
and then
I don't want to say it.
Fine. I would rather us not, in case obviously it then misses that and so on. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole, as it were. John, can I just get a confirmation? We're not going to get booted off a Windows update, right?
No, I think it's a different machine making the noises.
A different machine?
I'm playing the music.
The machine we used to play the music to start the stream apparently is making a Windows noise.
Yeah, my mic's fallen off.
Your mic's fallen off?
Hello.
It's all going wonderful right now.
Hello.
I'm not mega depressed.
I wonder how long ago that.
No, this
you are.
So this is the thing.
Not for this stream.
Kelpie, we haven't had, until only 3 weeks ago, we hadn't had Kelpie on a stream in a very, very long time. So some people watching this might not be aware of Kelpie when he's on streams. Like that,
Might not be aware of me when I'm on the stream.
Yeah, sorry, not be aware of me when you're on the stream. I'm so sorry.
You're a happy ray of sunshine.
Oh lordy, yeah, we have imagery and everything from years gone by of happy kelpies.
This
So, yeah.
Galaxy, what's his name, has still his Twitter.
Oh yes,
Is my face from like years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He does good YouTube videos on lore.
Does he?
Goes
What he
good
ought to do is have your face over every character. That's what he ought to do. Just
oh man.
Kelpie lore video.
Come back to
Kelpie
game.
Monk, yep.
What was that?
That was a good one. When they
Oh, the Kelpie Monk. Yeah. Coming back to Game Jam. Well, this is from Game Jam. So, is individual phase practice mode still a thing? That isn't, and this is a perfect example of a thing that happens in Game Jam but doesn't go to release because of the implementation of it and so on. TLDR was implemented in a way that isn't really safe, and when checked over, when it got to the process of review, it was checked and basically confirmed to be that way, so it didn't happen for that reason. So if it is ever going to happen, it needs to be done properly, i.e. done by someone who's a developer, not done by someone who enjoys Game Jam for the fun of it, I guess.
The good and bad thing about Game Jam is you get to see like the development process.
Yes.
Really rough and really like horrible looking without actually getting like, and then before you see the processed version. So while we will stream you or show you it working, it's horribly hacky about from our end and would never get past like tech review or QA or anything. So like, yeah.
And obviously that was from a Game Jam in 2017. So obviously we kind of fine-tuned the process into 2018. We've had Kelpie and Timber on streams in the past to explain that and obviously improve that process. If you look at a list of Game Jam projects from February 2017 versus projects, I'd say from 2018. Obviously, the 2018 projects, a lot more of them gone out versus 2017, if I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, this was the thing, is kind of like for the last Game Jam, we actually set time aside for teams to work on those things. Which
is obviously needed. Which because we never did that, it was kind of hurt us quite a lot.
Really kind of went through and. Yeah.
What an old question that is. Why is there an effigy cap? I wanted to save and use myself. So why is there an effigy cap of 5? I guess is a question.
So you can't stock up that much experience.
Yeah.
We don't let you bank that much. We don't let you bank experience in general.
So
it's fascinating that, isn't it? Like, there's a reason that we don't do it that way, and it's a good reason. But at the same time, players absolutely love doing it. Mm. But then we end up with all these awkward situations where we get the players like, I've banked 200 million worth of rune bars, and then the mining and smithing rework comes along. Yeah. And like, it's a nightmare for us. Having players hoard vast quantities of wealth is a huge nightmare, because if anything changes, and it doesn't even have to be something as dramatic as the rework, it's just like, you know, we released a new boss that nerfed, that flooded the market with herbs, and now the value of herbs has gone down, and all your herbs are not worth anything anymore. Like, please don't invest your wealth in items, because they might change, and then everyone's really sad and quits because their wealth got ruined.
Like if you have 2,000 caskets from Clue Scrolls and you don't want to open them, and then you come back 4 months later and there's been some significant change, then you're going to you might get, like if we said, oh, you can no longer get dyes from them, and you've saved these caskets and I hope you get dyes, then you're going to be like, well, that's a load of crap, and be from there.
Just liquidize all your money into GP.
The smart money is in spirit shards, I hear.
Spirit shards and GP.
Oh yeah, well, getting the spirit shard drop from a geode.
Huh? Yeah. Oh, sweet.
I got 1,100 geodes to open. It's got a lot to open.
Was that question about making geodes easier to open from you? Is that?
No, it actually wasn't for me. But I mean, in retrospect, it may as well have been in that sense. I'm just looking through the question. From chat. If anything we can pull up, we'll do it, because we got about 5 minutes left.
I've got a few more.
We may as well.
I mean, people are still asking the aquarium bug. We talked about it.
Yeah, submit a bug report.
Submit bug report.
We don't know what you're talking about.
We're currently unaware of it. Of those of us on the sofa, there might be people back upstairs who are aware of it, but we will try and get it fixed.
Bladed dive on familiars. ModPie said he's going to look into it, but it's probably not possible, as like familiars are NPCs. So if we disable that, then it might well disable it for all NPCs, so you couldn't attack anything with it.
It's the same reason why you can't bladed dive to fonts at Telos, because the fonts are NPCs as well, unfortunately. Well, not 2 fonts, but not having fonts appear when you're on bladed dive. Jack, you said you had a few questions?
Someone asked, can we remove the tick system?
Oh.
And someone else sarcastically said all games have ticks, but ours is unusually slow. Usually they're multiple per minute.
The best person who answered this was when I asked Mark Connor this question back in 2017, which is a very specific year, obviously. And obviously for a stream, I can't remember what the stream was, but I think it was Mod Connor, Mod Osborne, and Mod Kelpie on the couch, and we went through.
It's good that you're saying the scene.
The big questions, and one of them was
really
the tick system. But I'm not going to recite the answer. I can't remember the specifics. I don't want to get it wrong anyway. But
basically, if we were to
who was on the bench, who was on the couch, but not what they said.
But basically, though, if we were to like rework the tick system, fix the tick system, we might as well just start from scratch, make a brand new game.
Yeah,
it would
work that way.
It would be a different game, and it would be less work that way.
Even if we did something like halve it, so the game was twice as responsive. Huge, vast quantities of game content just assume that the tick system works.
Basically, the game would run twice as fast.
If you've ever played around with modding, you can change the tick rate in games when you mod them. And usually that just immediately breaks the physics system, for example. RuneScape doesn't have a physics system, but unrelated things will spaz out if you change how the ticks work. And we just have to retest the entire game.
In my case, I think I just went down memory lane without actually remembering the full specifics.
You just missed my Connor, isn't it?
Yeah. So someone said, "Where is Mod Osborne? Is he alive?" Well, yes. He's alive.
He's alive.
He's live with tiny children.
He is still the designer.
He's kicking ass.
He had nothing to do with Mod Jed.
Wow.
That was the conspiracy theory.
Oh my lord.
That was the conspiracy theory, because he disappeared from Twitter around the same time. That had nothing to do with that.
What? Wow.
He's just busy.
Holy crap.
Yes, Mod Osborne. I'd love to get him on for a stream again. He's not turned into some like troll who doesn't want to speak to anyone or stuff like that. He's still the outgoing, wonderful person he is.
A troll,
like, yes, he is a troll, but no, Mod Osborne's amazing, and hopefully we'll be able to get him back on for a stream in the near future for sure. Because I think it's safe to say it's always nice to have him on streams where possible. Someone said about portals being used to send salt to the bank. We hotfixed that yesterday. It doesn't do that anymore. So salt will no longer, a layer salt will no longer get triggered on the Grace of the Elves or the porter usage for that. So that shouldn't happen anymore. So we'll try and answer as much questions as we can for the next 2 or 3 minutes. I'm ready to wrap up.
Can Master Arcana get better XP? No. It's not a matter of fairness. It's if it gets the more XP it gives, the less it's worth.
Oh, I see.
Because if you're only making it for the profit and don't get putting XP on it encourages you to make it, and taking XP off it discourages you from making it. There's actually a point there about a lot of the problem with the economy of the mining and smithing rework is and this is my personal mistake, totally underestimated how many people were going to go do it. I haven't got today's results actually, but 4 days ago, 45% of active players were mining still. After 2 weeks.
It's just convenient.
The supply of ore is enormous because everyone's doing it, and that's keeping the supply of ore. And same with Masterwork. It's supposed to be so much of a pain in the ass.
It's messing with the economics of the...
Yeah, it's messed the economics up because I underestimated how much people would want to do it.
It's just so much more convenient. Honestly, for me with mining, I can just click, and I'm not going to keep up my stamina all the time to make sure I get better damage and so on and so forth. But now I don't have to worry obviously prior to the Mine Smith update, you have to hope that your Juju potion kicked in to get the Stone Spirit, or if I do a fell hour in the old mining system and be able to mine constantly and so on. But now it's a consistent flow. It's just so much easier, really. I think that's why more people do it. It's not, oh, you do this rock and at any random point you're going to get a rock. You know when you're going to get your rock now from the headbar and so on and so forth. So it's much better.
The killing NPC bug is fixed. People were complaining about it in chat.
Yeah, it was fixed at 8 a.m. this morning, if I remember.
Any graphical reworks for 2019? Yes, but I'm not going to tell you what they are.
Oh, exciting.
But you should know them. We should know.
Should I?
Yeah, you should know one of them at least.
Yeah, not telling you because it would spoil things.
We graphically reworked the Artisan's Workshop.
Oh yeah.
Technically, we have done the 2019 one.
Yeah.
Very true.
There you go.
And also
That's what I was going to spoil.
Someone asked, I'm not sure what the context was, but someone said, I want to see more small quests that have nothing to do with the storyline. And I think 2018 had quite a lot of that, and 2017 had quite a lot of that. And what we actually need is some big storyline quests now.
But there is maybe some of that stuff in 2019 too.
So. I said there would be at RuneFest.
Yeah.
So I hope there will be, otherwise I'm in trouble.
Yep.
I mean, before we
They won't let me back. if I keep lying. So.
Before we wrap up, someone said finally the cheer. It was because we're reading the chat. I can't reiterate it. The issue, obviously, with this is because we're so focused on the chat. When we then have to try and figure out when we talk from this is why it looks like we're so grumpy. I promise you, we are fine.
Yeah, we're focusing.
Yes, very focused. But yeah, I think from a Q&A perspective, it's probably the most questions we've answered in a very long time. So I'm really happy about that because obviously sometimes we love to talk about specifics, but I'd easily say we answered 40 to 50 questions there. So hopefully that's...
I've got one. Can I do one more?
Yeah, go on.
When is there going to be a hatchet of Earth and Song? I don't know if it's like that question's come up a lot recently. I don't know if it's one guy spamming on every social media.
Also, we called it like Fire and Dance.
Well,
when will we get a hatchet of Fire and Fury?
I mean, so
we wouldn't call it Fire and Fury.
The reason that the pick exists in mining and smithing isn't for fun. It fulfills a specific role.
Yeah.
It's like the problem we had was crystal shouldn't be the best pickaxe in the game anymore. But if it isn't, then everyone's crystal picks were kind of a waste of time. So we specifically added in, it was originally called Upgraded Crystal Pickaxe. And then when we looked at what you could do to upgrade it, we said, well, we'll combine it with the Imcambo, brilliant. But there's no equivalent of Imcambo for woodcutting anyway. So
Inferno adds is kind of...
It's not got the same sort of accessibility or power.
Yeah, you're right.
And there's also no need, because we're not adding in tier 90 hatchets that you can just make, then there's no need for an upgrade to the crystal hatchet, because the crystal hatchet's still good. So there's no need for such a thing.
Well, I want to take one more, which is ninjas, can we assign specific inventory slots to action bar like how the equipment slot works? That would be interesting, if that's possible. I mean, it sounds crazy.
Are you just reading?
Yeah.
Mudgelp, he looks like Mud Jack's jilted partner.
Not that far from the truth.
Oh man! All right, I think we'll leave that there to wrap up. But yes, I'm very happy with all the stuff we managed to get answered. So hopefully you all enjoyed the stream. Someone said, when is the farm ban update? Presumably you mean player on farmhands. Kelpie.
Monday of February.
Yeah, there you go. So that's when you can look forward to that one. John, am I right in saying it'll auto-host someone after the stream, or?
I don't know.
Oh well, it might auto-host someone after the stream. So. Well, okay.
Let's decide.
So keep an eye out for that one. But yeah, apart from that, hopefully you've enjoyed the stream. We've answered as much as we can. Kind of a general Q&A, as I mentioned. We're trying to do these where possible. So we've kind of covered a lot of topics. So apart from that, thank you so much for watching. Take care and have a good one.
Bye.